Welcome to the No Limits Life podcast, where we explore the inner stories behind outer success. Stories of courage, passion, and reinvention. I'm your host, Nordine Zouareg, former Mr. Universe, best-selling author, high-performance coach, and founder of the Inner Fitness Movement. Joining me is my trusted co-host, Ken.
Hey, Nordine.
And today's episode hit close to home. We're joined by a voice that has become a fixture in the world of Tucson sport, a man who understands hustle, purpose, and giving back. Justin Spears is a Tucson native who turned his love for the game into a powerful platform. A proud University of Arizona graduate, he now covers U of A football for the Arizona Daily Star and hosts one of the city's top sports talk show on ESPN Tucson. He's not just telling stories, he's building community through initiative like the Spears Summer Classic, a charity golf tournament that gives back where it matters most. Justin, before we dive into our journey, or specifically your journey, I want to offer today's quote. Legacy is not what you leave behind. It's how you live every day that shapes the world around you. How does that land for you, and how have you gone about shaping your own legacy one day at a time?
Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me a part of this great show. And I mean, that's an incredible quote right there. And pretty much how I interpret that is make great use out of your time. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow is never promised. So how are you going to live today? How are you going to maximize everything you can out of these 24 hours that you're awake? And it's honestly, something that I live by every day. I don't want to ever feel like a day is wasted. And that is something that was instilled by my father. My father, Gerald Spears, who passed away just over 6 years ago. And, he was a man that was all about work ethic. And he was never the smartest, never the brightest, was never the most physically imposing guy, but his work ethic and his drive really took him places. And that was something that I inherited at a very early age, carried it all throughout sports, and now I'm carrying it through my adult life as a man.
And that's the question I was going to ask you. Who inspired you? But before you answer the question, we already know. You talk about time, know what you're going to do with your time. Don't waste it. I'd go a little further than that. Energy.
Energy, yeah.
Because 1 hour of your time depleted, you produce nothing. 1 hour of your time fully recharged with energy, that is mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual energy, then you can do a lot more. So to everyone who's watching and listening, energy is far more greater than time. Okay?
Absolutely.
So don't waste your energy,
That's a good point.
And when you feel like you are depleting your energy, and it works like very much like reservoirs. If your emotional reservoir depletes and you're not refueling, it's just a matter of time before it hits the physical. Mm-hmm. And then so on, so forth, until you reach burnout.
Yeah. Right?
And that's what you're mentioning, and do what you can to use up your time and energy. And whenever you are don't get to that point of depletion. Mm-hmm. Just recharge. The question, who inspired you the most?
Yeah.
You mentioned your father. Mm-hmm. Okay, who else?
So in addition to my father, my amazing mother as well, Valerie Spears, she's amazing. She's been my rock my entire life. And, she was someone who came over from Germany and moved here in the 80s, fresh off the boat, didn't really know anything about American culture, came here to the United States, and she went through school, she worked, she got her degree, and she ended up working in a career that she went to school for and worked for several years and is now living her best life in San Diego as a retiree.
Oh, nice. What does she do for a career?
She was a financial advisor.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she worked with mutual funds and financial advisor, and she was incredible. And
how old was she when she got here?
She was maybe early 20s when she first got here. And it's funny, she's from Germany. My dad is from inner city Los Angeles. He grew up in Carson, California, which is like stone throws away from Compton. My dad saw some stuff growing up in inner city Los
imagine.
Angeles. As a matter of fact, I joke around. I say that my dad's kind of like the Forrest Gump of LA culture because he was always around, but he was never involved. Right in the movie Forrest Gump, he's always at these historical events, but was never quite involved. My dad was he knew somebody. One of his great friends was a cousin or a brother. He was a relative of Tookie Williams, who was a founder of the Crips.
Oh,
right.
Wow,
One of his tattoos is done by Mr. Cartoon.
His tattoos, your father?
My father's tattoos,
Okay.
yeah. One of his tattoos was done by Mr. Cartoon, who ended up becoming a renowned tattoo artist across the country. I mean, just artist, period. My dad got a tattoo by him at a very early age when he was before he was Mr. Cartoon. So my dad has seen some things. The 1988 World Series where Kirk Gibson on a broken leg hits the home run and he's running around the bases doing the fist pump. My dad was at that game. So my dad has he's seen a lot of great things, and the connection, the relationship that my parents had growing up, it was something that always inspired me. And to see how much they worked every single day. But like you talked about earlier with the energy and where you're directing your energy, my dad worked 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, but he never missed one of my football practices. Always was available for me whenever I needed him. He was always a present father, and that's the kind of energy that I talk about.
What would you say your father being there for you and working 10 hours a day and still being passionate about what you're doing? So do you think your father was as passionate as you are?
I mean, he was so passionate in seeing me accomplish the things that he didn't, while also appreciating my journey and what I really wanted. And I knew from an early age that I wanted to become a sports journalist, radio host, writer. That's just what I wanted to do. And at first, my father didn't, I guess, respect that, right? He wanted me to do something that made more money, something that was a little bit more solidified, right? And
what's best for you?
He was definitely looking out for me and what was best for me. But then he saw the passion that I poured into it and how much I worked and I grinded.
And that's what I was going to get to, because he saw that passion became his passion. Therefore, that 10 hours wasn't not a big deal for him. He was maybe tired, but you gave him that energy. You sort of, injected that energy for him to come to see you. There's a difference between a father who's not interested by his kids' passions and works 10 hours.
We just talked to a person like that. His mom was always there. He never saw his dad.
And 10 hours later comes home and then crashes and uses what I call spiritual substitutes such as alcohol to numb themselves, and because of the sorrow and all that. That's one aspect of the 10 hour and I'm dead, right? As opposed to the 10 hours and I'm going to go see my son play.
Yeah.
Now I have
energized.
so much energy.
Yep.
That's what you're referring to when because we want to make sure that people understand, that we are not, missing the point here. It is hard, 10 hours, working hard, and, whatever. It doesn't matter what you do. Working 10 hours is hard.
Right.
But when you have passions, and specifically when you have passion for your kids and what they're passionate about, oh boy, you have like so much energy. You want to go another 10 hours.
Yep.
So that's what I was referring to. Tell us how your career began.
Yeah.
What sparked your love for journalism and led you to cover one of Arizona's most passionate sports communication.
Absolutely. So I grew up a sports fan. My dad coming from Los Angeles. We moved to Tucson, Arizona in 1997, which for Arizona basketball fans, that's a really good year. U of A loves 1997. But we moved here from LA. I'm originally from Huntington Beach, California. And I just fell in love with sports because my dad was a Dodgers fan, was a Lakers fan, and we'd always watch Lakers games all the time. And I'm a little bit younger, so I grew up on the Kobe and Shaq era instead of the Magic Johnson and Kareem era. But Magic and Kareem are staples in our household. And so I fell in love with sports right away. and started playing sports, played football for 10 years. And, once...
You play college ball too?
No, I wanted to. And see, that's what actually inspired me to get down this journalism path.
Yeah.
Was I was a really good football player. And once I got into high school, I started getting recognition from the varsity coaches, like as a freshman. And then my second semester as a freshman, I get the call up to varsity for spring ball.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going into my sophomore year, and I'm bumping up to varsity, and I'm like,
that's big time.
You know what? This is some big time stuff right here. I might actually, be something as a football player. And then all my colleagues, my teammates, they all started to grow and get taller, and I stayed the same. And once I realized, okay, I'm 5'8", I'm not playing offensive line at the next level. What can I do outside of my sport? And this field, journalism, telling stories and still being connected to the game, that was something that I wanted to pursue. And when I wasn't training for football, I was broadcasting our high school basketball games over there at Cienega High School in Vail, Arizona.
Oh, wow.
And I knew that's what I wanted to do. And so I got into the University of Arizona, declared my major right away in journalism. Declared. Like, I'm going to be a journalist. Mm-hmm. And then I fell into some troubles early on. My grades were so bad my second semester of my freshman year that my GPA plummeted. And you need to get into the School of Journalism. And my GPA, where it was, I was not getting into the journalism school. So I had a fork in the road. I'm like, okay, I can keep partying, having fun, living the college life. Fork. Exactly. Or I can really hunker down, lock in on my craft. And I chose the latter, and I used my energy towards all of that. I mean, I was taking 5 classes a semester. I was a waiter as well to pay my bills. I got into journalism school because that following semester, 4 A's and 1 B. So my GPA skyrocketed up, got into the journalism school, and I wanted to make use of my time, right? Going back to what we talked about earlier, was I noticed my colleagues and my classmates, a lot of them came from more privileged backgrounds. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, I grinded, I got out the mud, I was so poor growing up, and now look at me. Like, I had a great childhood, upper middle class, never really had any issues financially. Like, I had a great life. But it also just really upset me when I would see people that grew up with a silver spoon in their mouth. They had all these resources and all the privilege in the world, and they weren't capitalizing on that. They were sitting in their apartment smoking weed and drinking and partying and not doing anything. And I'm like, man, your parents are literally paying for you to be here, and look at how you're making use of your time. I saw those people, and I'm like, I'm not going to be one of those guys. And so I'm like, I'm going to do my declaration. I'm going to do my job. I'm going to study, and I'm going to do exactly what I came here to do, and I did that.
Yeah, Justin, about that declaration, because you talk about declaration like with such a passion, you declared several times when you faced challenges, I'm going to do this. A declaration that only needed your signature.
Yeah.
That's what made you different than these guys you mentioned that were doing nothing, killing their time, because they were seeking validation elsewhere. They were waiting other people to sign a declaration that they didn't even think about or didn't even have. So you declared it, you signed it, and you went on.
Yep.
And that's the way you do everything in your life. When you have an obstacle, you just jump it. But you declare that declaration, and you do it.
So I know you're real involved in the community, and I've always thought you did a great job on ESPN because I used to work with you.
Yes, sir.
But because you're so involved, I mean, you've got basically two different jobs, right? Yeah. You got print, you got radio. You're raising all kinds of money for, was it Easter Seals with a big golf tournament?
Yep.
So how do you keep yourself physically and mentally healthy?
I'm learning that. I'm learning that myself, actually. So I got so involved in my job that I lost track of myself, and I didn't take care of myself. and I shot up to 313 pounds. I was a hefty boy. Now
I can't even imagine that.
Well, you were there. I was there in your studio.
You hit it well, I think.
and now I'm here, and I'm last time I weighed myself, I'm 254.
Yeah, you look great too, by the way.
Thank you.
So you made that declaration again.
I made that declaration that I need to take care of myself, and because you can work, you can grind, but if you want to keep doing that, you have to take care of yourself. And so that was something that I learned. I'm still learning and still trying to overcome those battles. And I realized that, the job is great, but I needed to be taking care of myself and also be present for my family too. There were so many, moments where I would miss out on families' birthdays or, certain holiday events, because when you work in sports, a lot of times you work during the holiday breaks. So trying to find that balance, it's a dance. It really is. But at the end of the day, you have to be there for your family. You have to be there for your loved ones. And, the job is the job. It's always going to be there. But, sometimes your family isn't always going to be there.
There's so many things that you just touched on, that we probably need 3-hour podcast just talking about those. The self-care.
We might have to have you back someday.
The self-care,
absolutely, man.
Self-compassion. You mentioned you lost sight of yourself. Can you elaborate on, because I want people to understand what it feels. What does it even mean, lose sight of yourself? When you engage in something you like, but then you neglect other parts of your life. So what were you thinking, and what was the pivotal point that led you to search other tools to remedy to that situation? AKA lose some weight, feel healthier, feel better about yourself. But while you were doing what you were passionate about, you were happy. You're happy. But then you turn around and then something hit.
Yeah.
And it could be like walking 2 flights of stairs and you're out of breath, not being able to play with your kids because you have to run around and catch them, and all of these things that really face us to reality.
Well, I'm a firm believer that no matter how well in shape you are, you're always going to be out of breath when you walk up a flight of stairs. I feel like that's always the case. But honestly, the clothes that I wore were fitting tighter, and all of a sudden, to the point where I couldn't even fit in these clothes. And I'm like, man, how did I gain that much weight in that short amount of time? And also, just looking at myself in the mirror, looking at past photos of yourself, and I'm like, man, I used to look like that, and now I look like this. How do I overcome this? Yeah. And one thing that also, really helped me get back on track was the loss of my father and my dad.
I remember when you went through that. You could see it in your face. It was hard.
So would you say that
tough.
Was an anchor?
It was hard. It was because he passed away from non-alcoholic liver disease, cirrhosis, and also known as fatty liver disease. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to repeat what my father went through.
Was he on the heavy side?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
it was a wake-up call.
But the thing, yes, it was a wake-up call. But the thing that is, I guess, different from my father and myself was I am not stubborn enough to take care of myself, I guess. Like, I'm eating the right foods. I know exactly what I need to do. I just need to build on the days and be consistent with it. Where he was very stubborn, very hard-headed, didn't want to listen to anybody. And I think there's something to be said about being vulnerable enough to listen to other people's perspectives, especially the people that you love. Yeah. And, when you have people who are telling you what you need to hear rather than what you want to hear, I think that's a big blessing. And I had people in my corner tell me that they were a little concerned about where I was heading, and I realized that I needed to make a change.
People can see how you look like. They can see how you behave. They don't feel what you feel. That's erroneous to say, I can feel what you're feeling. That's bullcrap. It's not actually possible to feel, what you feel, because we don't know. Yeah. But we can see your behavior. We can see how we can tell you, hey, you know what? You're killing yourself. Yeah. Do something about it. And you mentioned the word vulnerability. It's the greatest strength that humans possess. Because when you're vulnerable, you're open to suggestion. You're open to even self-compassion. you know, your ability to attract that sort of higher consciousness where you say to yourself, or awareness, boy, what am I doing? That's it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't feel good. It's not only the look, but it's how you feel.
Yeah.
Do you feel better now that
feel way better?
Do you?
And you know what actually really helped me was golf. Golf was something that I had always done growing up. I would just swing the clubs. I'd go to the driving range with my brother and my father. But once COVID hit and I was actually furloughed from the radio station. And so I had my afternoons open and I had all this time, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to do something where I can be physically active, social distance during COVID, be outside, be in the fresh air. And at first I wanted to really do something for my physical side of it. I had no idea how much golf would help me on the mental side of it as well. Right, you hit a bad shot. How are you going to get out of this? It's just like the game of life.
Absolutely.
Right.
And you're figuring out ways to, okay, how am I going to survive this hole without putting a 10 on my scorecard? And so
I never put a 10 on my scorecard. I just skipped the hole.
Oh, yeah.
I won't write that down.
For me, it's either a snowman, an 8, or a 10. But how can you figure out ways to overcome this hole and these challenges? And, just being out there just by yourself, it's you in that little white ball, and you're in the elements. There's something so peaceful about that, and golf was a big reason why I was able to shed the little bit of weight that I've lost, and it's been a huge part of regaining my mental strength as well.
Golf allowed you to rediscover you.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then you mentioned the pandemic and where people were faced with themselves and make better choices. A lot of them, started to work out, started to take care of themselves because there were no distractions anymore, and they were faced with themselves. Earlier you mentioned something about, your both, because we had the same thing happen to us earlier where I was talking about, I mentioned your inspiration, and you kept on saying, your mom, your dad, but I see someone else that you didn't mention that was the greatest inspiration.
Is it myself?
What'd you think?
Absolutely. I wanted to become my own hero. And it's actually something that one of my, I guess you can call him a life coach. Shout out to my guy, Desi Abeda. And, Desi, when I was starting my weight loss journey, he talked about your heroes, your inspirations. And he's like, what about you, man? Don't you want to be your own hero? And I was like, man, I never really thought about it like that. Like, I've always had the mindset of, I want to make my parents proud. I want to make my older brother proud because, he's done so much for my life. And, I want to make my girlfriend proud. I want to make everyone who is in my corner proud, and never really thought about me. And so I've been working on that, and I'm showing up for myself every single day.
The discipline that you've created for yourself, that you are abiding to show up for yourself every single day, you became your own disciple.
Yeah, it's very powerful. And I think, like I said, I'm not perfect. There's still some things that I'm trying to overcome every single day, right? Every single day has its own battles. With my job, being in journalism, I love covering Arizona football. And that's the thing that is so special, kind of going back to, being my own hero. Growing up, I would go to Arizona Stadium and go to these football games. And now that's like my office every single Saturday in the fall. I get to go to that stadium. I get to tell great stories and be around the game of football. I get to travel with the football team and go see all these great places. And then I also get to talk about it on ESPN radio every single morning. Like, what I'm doing now is exactly what I hoped I'd be doing if I wasn't playing the sport. And I'm my own hero. I'm very confident in saying that.
Being your own hero is all about self-care too.
Yeah.
And when you decided that you need to lose weight, I mean, that you thought about yourself, you got to think about yourself first.
Yeah.
If you don't think about yourself first, nobody's going to think about you.
It's just a matter of time before you crash. And you know, when you're the hero, your own hero, you become the hero to everyone around you.
That's
all
true.
your loved ones. You know, you infuse them with positive energy. So thank you for being in the show, sharing with us your heart, and
thank you.
And we can see that energy, that passion. You know, so thank you so much for that. And to our listeners, we often think of legacy as something distant, etched in stone, revealed only after we are gone. But the truth is, legacy is daily. It's in the words you choose, the people you uplift, the promises you keep when no one's watching. It's not built in one bold gesture, but in the small, consistent acts of integrity, empathy, and effort. You don't need to wait to become someone who matters. You already are. Your impact begins with how you show up today. So instead of asking, what will I leave behind? Ask, what am I building right now? Live like your legacy has already begun, because it has. What choice can you make today that aligns with the legacy you want to live, not just leave?
So thanks for tuning in. We always appreciate when you guys join us, whether you watch us or listen to us. And Justin, I can feel your energy. And you know what's funny is when I knew you, when there was more Justin, there was always energy there, but I feel more energy. Mm-hmm. So I think you've been energized ever since you've gotten a little bit lighter.
Yes, sir.
And please subscribe, share, like, comment.
Yes, absolutely.
And thanks for watching No Limits Life.
Thank you.